All right, Founders Field Notes, episode 21. Who close these windows up? Apologies for last week. I missed an upload last week because I was too busy. Simple as that, right? I'm not going to try and make it up or make it sound more dramatic than it was. I was just too busy. The subject of today's video, something that I've been told many times before, but didn't listen to my own detriment. There's a saying in business, and it is slow to hire, quick to fire. And I have hired, employed or instructed, I would say at this point, it's got to be about 20 or 30 people. So not massive number, but enough. Do you know what I mean? Enough. And I have found a few things. There are a few things that are tend to be true. So let's break it down into 3 things that differentiate a good employee or a good partner, colleague, whatever you want to call it. And I think this doesn't just go for employing people. I think this goes for working with people. So other people you work with, whether they're sort of like a subcontractor you work with, or let's say you have a t-shirt printing business and there's a designer you want to work with, that kind of thing. Anything. So I found this from employees and team members to designers, mentors, coaches, all sorts of stuff. These are the things I've found. Number 1, how someone does anything is usually how they do everything. Let me give you an example of that. I'm not a meticulous person. I'm a sort of, 30,000 feet, big conceptual thing. I'm not a detail guy. And that shows up in many areas of my life, especially with work. I tend to miss details, make small mistakes, but generally on the big stuff, I tend to do all right. I even find it with when people are giving business advice and they're being very meticulous about it and they're doing the Hormozyisms. And look, I love Alex Hormozy, but sometimes I'm just just make money, don't run out of money. It's that simple. But so that's me, right? But when you hire people or you work with people, you want to watch how they do things. So let me give you an example. Let me give an example of a good one. So I hired a guy once called Ben. Shout out Ben. And when I met Ben, we met through jiu-jitsu. And Ben was always early, was always helpful and positive, and very nice guy. Got along with everyone. Always stayed behind afterwards, helped clean up, and just had a general positive demeanor. And I hired him, right? Offered him a job and hired him. And he was, and I wonder if he'll watch this, but he was one of the best hires I ever made. I've had a couple of great hires, because how he does everything is how he kind of operated in the business. He was super honest. He was always early. He never let me down. Do you know what I mean? He was a great hire. Now, conversely, on the other side, and I've made this mistake too, I've hired people who have got shady backgrounds or a shady past, and people who generally their life is in some form of disarray, but they've got good excuses for it. And those people, it tended to always be the same. So that was my number 1. How people do anything is how they do everything. How they dress, how they show up, how they talk to others. Pay attention to these things when you hire someone. The second one is, this is definitely true for me with hiring people, and I've made this mistake, is stay away from victims. Now, what do I mean when I say that? There are 2 types of people in this world. There are the people who life happens for them, and there are the people who life happens to them, and they're a victim of everything. The people who have you know, I've got to be careful what I say here, but, you know, at the same time, I'm gonna speak my honest opinion. The people who go on about their mental health, the people who, you know, they've always got a reason, or it's always someone else's fault why they're in the situation they're in. You know, they're a victim of everything. Yeah, it's my autism, it's my mental health, it's this person's fault. And, you know, I had one guy, for example, came in, delivered 0 results, and, you know, when he was pressed on it, it was like, oh, it's because I haven't got the buy-in from the team. You know, and it was just always someone else's fault, never his own. And like, it's a lack of accountability, right? So what you'll find is people who are often the victim, they struggle with taking accountability. And you know, and I have to take accountability as someone who has made mistakes by hiring these people in the first place. Big mistake. I worked with another guy once, and he was the same. He was you know, things quickly started unraveling, and it was his relationship, and then it was like this, and then it was that. And the thing that I find interesting is these people who are like always the victim, they'll think nothing of trying to rip you off, like stealing from you, whatever. Like one guy, I paid him to deliver something, and he never delivered it, and then he never had any intention of delivering it. But fuck me, he took the money and spent it, and then when I asked for my money back because he couldn't deliver what he promised, he couldn't do that either because he's a victim. And it's, you know, these people they don't see that they're actually like ripping people off or doing harm to others. They don't see it that way. To them, you're just a like a piggy bank, essentially. You've got endless amounts of money, and they're very entitled. So number 2 would be stay away from the victims. Stay away from those people. Number 3 would be let people earn it. I had a lot of shit bosses when I was on my way up and when I was in employment. A lot of shit bosses. I was treated like shit by a lot of my employers. And they were dicks, right? And I didn't like them. And I vowed to always be different if I was in that situation or when I got to that position. And for the most part, I've really tried to keep that true. And I am not perfect, right? Far from it. I've made so many mistakes, and I've fucked up all sorts of things, and have many, many blind spots where people who I work with are pointing things out to me, and I've been like, I didn't realise I was doing that. I didn't realise that's how it was being perceived. You know, at the end of the day, it's a steep learning curve. However, in the early days, I was very generous with people, and in recent history, I've been doing it too. Someone would come on board, they would tell me what they need, and I would just deliver it to them. I would always think it was super important for me to keep up my end of the bargain, give people everything they need in order to succeed, including autonomy and freedom. And you know what? Like, I've actually changed my stance on that. And now I think it's a case of let people prove to you that that's what they deserve. Because I've had a lot of people come in, and I've given them all the tools and all the keys and everything, and they just take advantage of it, man. Do you know what I mean? And I've given them good money, and they just take it, and they do fuck all. One person in particular, I gave him all the freedom, supplied him with everything he needed, and what did he do? He did nothing with it. He just took advantage. Do you know what I mean? And you got to remember, right? I don't always think this way, but like when you have a business and you've got customers and cash flowing, and all that, like now you've got a situation that people can take advantage of if they are nefarious characters, and they will. And I've done it on a smaller scale as well with guys that came on the team, and I've supplied them with vans and given them the benefit of the doubt, and they take the piss, man. You know, I give my guys vans. I supply the vans, I supply the tools, and the rules are that they're allowed to use the vans for work purposes, but they're not insured for personal use. But if the guys ask me, if you want to use the van on a weekend, or like, just shoot me a message, let me know, and I'll locate it, because I have to check with the insurance. And I had one guy who worked for me, and on a Sunday, without permission, he was out and about in the van, and he crashed it. And then he called me and said, "Oh, I've crashed the van, blah blah blah." And anyway, so got it sorted, right? And then said to him, "Listen," reiterated, I was like, maybe I wasn't clear. These vans are not for personal use unless you have permission. Anyway, a few weeks later, he crashed the van again. and on a weekend when he wasn't working, and wrote the van off. And I said to him, listen, I fucking warned you about this. You're not supposed to use the van for personal use. And like, now you're going to have to pay the excess for the insurance. That's coming, like, you're going to have to pay that. And so he quit. And I was left with the bill. And it's just like, maybe let me know in the comments, is it my fault? I understand some of these things are just like part and parcel of running a business, part and parcel of working with people. But I've definitely learned that I've been overly generous. And a side note, right, on top of that, is that the people who are in your company who are really good, they were good hires, and they are loyal, and they've earned their position, they will sometimes see those other people coming in and taking the piss. And it will sometimes, basically, it undermines their position because they had to earn it, they've done all the right things, and then this other dickhead has come along. He's not earned his position, he's not done anything good, and he's blaming everyone else, and he's getting the same benefits. And it's, to be honest, it's not fair. And I've made that mistake in the past, and it has undermined people on my team. And I got to be really careful not to do that in future. Those are my 3 biggest things I've learned from hiring people. And like I say, not from just hiring people, from working with people as well. So if you have a business and you subcontract people, or you get into like don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions, man. And don't be afraid to ask a lot of questions around a certain subject. You know, I'll go into this in this week's vlog, but I recently had a bit of an interaction with a company about some consultancy work, and they gave me all the red flags. And a couple of years ago, I would have just gone for it anyway, and it would have all turned sour. But I did a bit more research, I did a bit more due diligence this time, and I found out that, you know what, these people are not the kind of people I want to work with. You know, and going back to point 2, a red flag for me is when people are talking about their problems too much. And look, I get it, here I am talking about my problems. I mean, but these are more like trying to be helpful, right? It's when people aren't helpful, when they talk about their mental health, when they talk about they got an excuse for everything. It's my ADHD, or it's my autism, or it's my fucking depression. You know, like, my experience with these people, stay the fuck away from them. And I know that that's going to trigger some people, and I'm sure there are some very real cases of that. You know, guys who are watching this who do have these issues, and they don't deserve to be treated poorly because of them. However, the fact of the matter is that from an employment status and like a company building, like, you know, it's these people, they can be a weakness for you, and they can cause a lot of problems for you. They've caused a lot of problems for me, but it's my own fault. I hired them. Stay the fuck away from them. And if you are watching this and you are using this language, like autism and ADHD and depression and mental health and God knows what else, they all come out the same playbook, right? They use terms like narcissism, gaslighting, all this stuff, right? All this kind of like pseudo psychology, Instagram speak. Man, do you know, I would encourage you to rethink that strategy. Same with politics. The people who talk about their politics too much. Like, I've got my politics, I talk about it here. But do you know what? Maybe keep that on the down low for the most part, until you're comfortable around people. If you're trying to get employed and stuff. If that like sounds true, or it sounds like it might be you, I'd have a think about it, right? Because my experience is that strength is never a weakness, and being vulnerable is not strength. People talk about being vulnerable, you know, this is very like unpopular to say these days, but talking about all of your weaknesses and your vulnerabilities doesn't make you strong. It makes you sound like a fucking liability. That's what it sounds like. If you want to be successful, I would encourage you to lean into your strengths and work on your weaknesses. And if your mental health or any of that stuff is a weakness, then fix it, because no one's going to do that for you. I hope that hits correctly and doesn't make me sound like a heartless bastard. I'm not. Trust me, I have been through my fair share of scrapes. You're talking about a guy who, if you Google my name, you will find news articles about court cases I've been involved in that didn't end well for me, cancer twice, homelessness. I've been there, and I've been depressed, man. When I came out of my second bout with cancer, I had a very real depression. But you know what? It's fucking normal, and everyone deals with that at some point in their life. But if you're the kind of guy who sits around at home because life hasn't gone your way, and you're blaming other people, pointing the finger, and you're entitled enough to expect someone else to fix your problems, well, I'd fucking rethink that strategy. It's no one else's responsibility to pay your bills, to fix your problems, and to sort out your stresses. It's down to you. I hope that hits right. It's a case of accountability and agency, and I think it's really important. All my problems are my fault, right? When I talk about these people I've had issues with, listen, I take full responsibility. It's my fault. I hired them. I hope you're all well, and I hope this video hits correctly. If you like this video, leave a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else you want me to talk about. I've had a couple of comments on the last video with some really good talking points, which I will hit in the next vlog. And I will see you all in Sunday's video. Take care, guys. Have a great week.